I love me some deviled eggs. Welcome to the Four Seasons. I'm your host, Ken Johnson, and today we're going to be talking about deviled eggs. So the holidays are upon us, and let's say you got something, you don't know what you're supposed to bring, or you can't think of something to bring, or you're trying to make something last minute. Deviled eggs are a wonderful way to make something that everybody will appreciate, and they're a lot easier than you think they are to make. Now I'm going to do two ways. So I've got my traditional southern deviled egg recipe. That's just the standard. Little paprika on top. It's wonderful. You can't beat it. It's a showstopper every single time. Now the other, this is something that my wife suggested that I do. And this is a hot pepper with bacon added in. So same base. So once you get the base, then you can adjust. So with that, I'll show you how to make my deviled eggs two ways. Stick around. It's time to do my deviled eggs. I'm doing deviled eggs two ways. So, in fact, we now have a new term for them. They're no longer deviled eggs, they're Satan eggs. But first thing you need to do is have a large pot. This is roughly a 3-quart pot, and so I'm going to add in my eggs next. Okay, so this is 2.5 dozen plus a couple extra just in case we have a fail. So with that, we're going to fill this up with water and fill it 1 inch up over the eggs. Next thing we're going to do is bring these up to a boil. After we bring them up to a boil, we'll reduce down to medium heat and boil them for 10 minutes. I'm hoping I can get some of this on footage, but you'll see bubbles coming up, and even though the water's getting hot, most of the bubbles are coming out of the eggs. Most people don't realize it, but eggs have air in them. That shell actually allows air into the egg so that the chick can breathe. And so air is escaping right now as the water heats up, which I think is so freaking neat. And now that it's starting to come up to heat, I'm not really going to bring it up to a boil, hard boil, because you can crack the egg and cause problems. So what I'm going to do now is reduce it down to medium, which is roughly about a 5 on my electric stove, but medium heat. And then we're going to let this sit now for about 10 minutes. Because this right here, I'm barely putting my finger in. So it's only going to get hotter and hotter as we go. Something I should make a note of. Always put a lid over your pots when you're reducing down your heat. It just saves time and it holds in the heat better. Okay, 10 minutes are up. Time to take it off the heat and drain them. As you can see, I've got ice in here. What I did is I poured off the water, filled it with regular cold tap water. That water was hot, poured that off, filled it up again. Water was warm, poured that off, and then when it got to blood temp, so about 3 to 4 fillings of water, then that's when I added my ice water here, and I'm doing my ice bath. Now, these will need to set a minimum of 5 minutes. So these are going to chill out in this ice water for 5 minutes at least. And the reason for that is you want your eggs, the whites, to firm up, the proteins to start contracting pulling away from the eggs, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so this has actually been a little over 7 minutes, almost going towards 10 minutes really. I got busy watching Glenn and Friends. They were trying out something, and I was really interested in that video. But you'll notice that the ice is gone. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's true but sounds like it's made up. There is no such thing as cold. There's only heat in the absence of heat. So cold is nothing more than the absence of heat. So the ice that you see here that's left over, it is melted, and what happens is that it absorbs the heat, and then the temperature is lowered as the heat is absorbed. So that means that these eggs have started going down in temp. They're not still cold yet, but they're there. I could pour this off and re-ice them again and go through this, but there's no need. Now we can at least work with them. So I'm going to drain this off. So I've drained these mostly off, not totally off. And now the next step, I'm going to take and shake these. Now I don't have my my thing set up, so I'm going to go get that, set it up so you can see me shaking this up and go to the next steps. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm just cracking these up a little bit, getting them cracked up, makes them a little easier. Now we'll go to the next step. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crack and roll. I'm putting minimal pressure on this. So you think, oh wow, Ken, you really screwed up. That's a lot of pressure. No, it's really not. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to put minimal pressure on these. So crack, 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 and then minimal pressure. And then just roll with your hands. So I'm going to do that for all these, and then we'll go from there. Another thing you can do, if you don't want to do that, the fat end, that is where the air pocket is most of all, and that's the one that I really want to get to. And you can just take a spoon and start at the fat end, and that will actually help. This may be the better way overall. It just takes more time than the other way. I've done enough, I can do it with my hands. But if you're getting started with that, just lightly, don't just barely hit it and crack it over. And you're just wanting it cracked all the way over, as many little cracks as possible, and set them to the side. Another way of doing it is to, again, fat end, hit really hard, and then come across like that. And there you go. This spoon is going to be very important. This is a teaspoon, so there's a reason why I have this out. Okay, so now I let them sit in some water. So I fill this up with water, and I'm peeling off the back of this. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to take this spoon and run it like this. And basically I'm just shucking the egg. And that's all there is to it. So everybody says, oh, I can't stand peeling eggs. I can't stand peeling eggs. I love peeling eggs. You know, this is nothing to me. The main thing is you got to find that membrane. There's that little membrane right there, and get it right in there. And once you do, you just kind of lift up a little bit. You can see where I'm kind of lifting up. You're not digging into the egg. Now that got a little bit off, so that's not going to be a pretty egg. And again, I didn't do it like I was supposed to do, but we'll get this peeled off so you can see it. Again, some of them are going to mess up. You're going to have mistakes, and that's fine. In fact, most of your egg hole, like this one's screwed up. so I won't use that. But most of your egg holders for deviled eggs, they're going to have, and it helps if you put some water in there, get that water in there, but they'll have about 13. They always do a little odd number, and the reason why is that most people are going to have some messed up eggs, so you always want to do a little bit more than what you expect and then go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue getting these shucked. I'll show you when I'm done with this. We'll go to the next step. Well, I used to have a dedicated spoon, because you need to have a spoon that's not rough, and it needs to be smaller than a teaspoon, just slightly smaller than the standard. And I had a spoon that worked beautifully, and when we moved, we decided to go with new cutlery, and I never thought about save the egg spoon. So we're having to peel these by hand because it's just not doing like it's supposed to do. While my wife is doing that for me and peeling some eggs under running water, I'm going to cut these this bacon into lardons. So this is just regular old brine bacon, and I'll just cut them up in little 1/2-inch pieces and fry them out. Okay, so we're frying out the bacon right now, getting this to where it's starting to brown. You see some of this brown stuff forming on the bottom. That's the proteins collecting and browning due to the Maillard reaction. You want to make sure that you scrape all that up, because that's all flavor. Now that we're getting this down, you'll start looking for it to brown a little bit on the bacon, and once it starts browning good, a lot of this moisture, that sizzle will change. And when the sizzle changes, that lets you know it's time to reduce down your heat, because it's going to start, because Maillard reaction can't take place in water. It has to have the absence of water. So that's the reason why I'm talking about water. You want to make sure that that sizzle, when it starts changing, that you lower your heat so you don't burn your bacon, and you crisp it out to a good brown. Now looky here, Maillard reaction is taking place. That sizzle has changed. Now you got a foaming of the oil. That always takes place about the same time, because now you're getting rid of the excess moisture. The oil's going through a different process altogether. You're getting all this nice brownness, and that's what you're wanting. I'm going to go ahead and finish this out and plate it, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, the bacon right here is draining on some paper towels. Next thing, I got a serrano pepper. These are homegrown, so they're a little hotter than what you might find in the store. But one serrano pepper, I'm going to chop this up really fine. Okay, so this right here is the serrano that's diced up, and that will go into a separate set of eggs with the bacon. So we're going to do one regular and one special. Now, if you watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I have a saying, YouTubers lie. And one of the things I try to do is explain that, you know, I'm trying to show that things happen. So this right here is a perfect egg. This one right here is not. You're going to have some that are just not. Now, like I said, I got the wrong spoon, and so I'm going to have to find me a new egg spoon. But even when you're doing it, you're still going to have issues. Not every egg is going to cook the same way. Not everything is going to be perfect. We can still use these. We can still salvage them. This is the reason why you do more than you plan to actually present, because you're going to have bad ones. So with that, I just want you to understand it. It's okay. It's totally okay if something don't work all the time. We can make it work. Okay, so this right here is just some of the eggs. These little trays are wonderful. So if you got some that aren't as perfect, it kind of hides it up. We got these, I believe, at the Dollar Tree. So yeah, they're wonderful, great to have. Now these are the yolks, and with the yolks, I'm looking at about 2 cups roughly. Now, most of your cooking, you don't use a recipe. When you're really cooking, you're not using a recipe. What you're doing is you're looking at proportions. And so I like to do roughly half mayonnaise, a third relish, and then the remainder, a sixth, mustard. But if you did that, what happens is that you can make it where it's too soggy. Things happen all the time that you have to adjust for. So what I'm going to do is, instead of a half cup, or instead of a whole cup of mayo, I'm putting a half cup in, and this is blue plate mayo that I'm adding in. So I'm going to put that in, and the reason why I'm doing that is to go ahead and get some moisture for when I'm starting to mash the yolks together. That is 1 tablespoon. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of French's mustard right there, and you need to have products that you trust, and I know the quality of French's, I know the quality of Blue Plate, and this is too important of a meal to not know the quality of the product. Now what I'm going to do, before I add in my next ingredient, I'm going to mash this all together. So I'll come back once I've incorporated all this together, and if I need to add mayonnaise or something like that, I'll let you know. Okay, that's really dry, so we're going to add in the rest of the mayonnaise to this and get that in there. Time to add 3 more tablespoons of mustard to this. Alright, now we're going to stir this up and see how it goes. Okay, that's pretty firm. Now we're going to add in our first dose of relish. This was a 1/3 cup of sweet pickle relish. We'll mix this in, and those egg yolks are sucking up all the moisture, so it may look a little runny right now, and that's fine. It'll thicken up. But now we need to, this right here is Walmart brand. I couldn't get the brand that I normally get, so I don't know exactly how this is going to taste. Walmart brand has had some fantastic pickles as of late, and so I'm thinking these are going to be great. So we're going to check and see how this goes in just a minute, do a little taste test. I tasted this. It did need the extra 1/3 cup, so that's 2/3 cup. So basically it's the recipe I had proportion wise, but again, you want to be safe with it. Now I'll mix this in. Now we're going to take 2/3 of this and put it into a quart bag. Alright. Now that this is in a bag, what you can do is wrap up your eggs on your egg tray with some saran wrap, and then carry them to your party, and right when you get there, you'll just take and cut the tip. So right here, you just cut a very small amount, maybe I'd say no more than a ½ inch, maybe a quarter of an inch. You need to play with it and just cut it out. And then you can just use this bag as a squirt bag to squirt your eggs. Once you do that, you'll want to do this. Top your eggs with paprika. Now, this right here is a Hungarian paprika. It's a sweet paprika. With Hungarian paprikas, there's two types, hot and sweet. You want the sweet, and it just is such great flavor. It elevates everything. So definitely go for the good stuff. But if you can't, Spanish paprika, what you see in the stores, that's Spanish paprika normally, it'll work fine. With the remaining third, it's time to fire things up a little bit here. Let's get spicy. And with that, we're going to add in our serrano pepper. And these are homegrown, and trust me, they're hot. But you could use any pepper you wanted to. In fact, I had thought about using one of my mushroom peppers I've been growing. That would be great flavor. If I really didn't like the people, I would have put the Peking pepper in there. That would have lit them up. But this right here would be perfect. And so, you know, just it's to your audience's heat level. You want to have something with flavor and a little kick. Now, the bacon has found its way into a quart bag, so I'm going to bust these pieces up into small little chunks, because they're much too big right now as they are to be used for this recipe. Because I thought I was taping and I didn't, because the bacon is absorbing so much moisture from this, I went ahead and added about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise to this and a ½ tablespoon of mustard, and that will that'll make it a little bit looser, and then it will thicken up overnight, because we're going to put this in a bag as well. It's important to make sure you label this one. You don't want to mess up and serve people the wrong dish, because this does have hot peppers in it. And once this sits overnight, the heat will be more amalgamated through it, and you don't want to light up somebody, especially a child, you know, that's not expecting it. So this is how they'll look. This is the regular top with paprika, and this right here is the modified version with serrano and bacon. Now, as you know anything about my channel, I'm all about personal fitness. So I'm going to be personally fitness these deviled eggs into my mouth right now. First, the regular. Oh my God. Oh. So good. So good. This right here is the kicked up version. Salty. Smoky. Got that little bit of heat in the back. These ain't gonna last long. I'm telling you what, if you've got to do a dish for a holiday meal, this is the ticket. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you hadn't already. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.